Good afternoon, investors and THORESEN Thai Agency Public Company Limited. The Stock Exchange of Thailand welcome you all to the SEC Digital Roadshow Year-End Performance of 2020. This session will run about 45 minutes, including Q&A. During Q&A, investor may leave your questions in the meeting room chat box or use raise hand function. Then presenting company will open your microphone, so you can ask the question to the company directly. May I now invite THORESEN Thai Agency Public Company Limited to start the presentation, please.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Today we here with our group CFO, Jitender Paul and myself, Katha Pungthanyapuk, Associate Director, Investor Relations and Treasury. As usual, we will start with company overview presented by Jitender, and then back to me on financial performance, and then end with the market outlook by Jitender. Okay, Jitender, please start.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think since this is a 45-minute session, we'll try to keep our presentation for the short part so we can take up as many questions as possible. Since we have, I can't see how many visitors we have. How many? 15. 15. We have a lot of people on the show. I think the first slide, it's a very standard, just a background history that it has been a more than 100-year-old company listed on the stock exchange since 1995, and about 25% dividend policy we have maintained. And also at the same time, the Bhagitsri family, which came in roughly around 2012, 11-12, they have been maintaining their shares at 27.4%. The balance is all widely distributed, widely held shares. Next. In terms of our strategic business portfolios, we have shipping, which is owned 100% directly by TTA. We have offshore services by the name of Mermaid, which is owned 58.2% by TTA and group companies. This company is listed in Singapore Stock Exchange. Agrochemical, PMTA, is owned 68.5% by TTA, involving with fertilizer and factory area management services. And then there are a few other small investments and businesses which we control. Pizza Hut owned 70% by TTA, Taco Bell owned 70% by TTA, AIN, this is with water company, we own 80.5%, and then logistics is GAC and UMS 28%, and UMS 95.65%, which we own. Sorry, 28% is Paria Service, right? Yes. Paria Service, the port. In terms of revenue structure for 2020, the year gone by, the shipping and the offshore services do about 57%, and agrochemical about 22%, which takes about 79% for between these three businesses, and rest, all the others, is 21% on the revenue side. However, if you look at the EBITDA structure for 2020, majority of it is coming from the shipping. Here it shows 135%, which means shipping made almost all the money for us in 2020. We had a big loss on the Mermaid side, shown here as minus 68%. And there was always a positive gain from agrochemical also of 29% on the EBITDA side. In terms of the financial highlights, the normalized net profit to TTA in fourth quarter increased 216% to about 160 million. The positive EBITDA of about 704 million for the full year 2020, in spite of what we see the total loss in the year at about 1945 million baht. There is a positive EBITDA because major chunk of that loss was due to an accounting entry on the sale of shares in offshore drilling. Shipping segment has maintained its leader position. Offshore service was also back on track and EBITDA turned positive for a short period in fourth quarter. But the order book of our offshore services remains very strong at about $100 million at the year end. And agrochemical segment has been remaining positive as in the previous years. I'll now pass on to Khun Patra for taking over the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Jitendra. Okay, so what in the past year we see some major change? Okay, first we still maintain good governance score as 5-star, and then our subsidiary, the Mermaid Maritime, under offshore service segment, they among top 100 of the Singapore Governance and Transparency Index. Okay, and we have 2 new vessels. So at year end, our fleet had 23 vessels, but now we have 24 vessels. We just bought one in we just got one in January. And then we have a dry docking of 3 subsea vessels. This is a subsea vessel, it's not a dry bulk vessel. Okay, and then we set up 2 new joint ventures under offshore service, which will help us generate more revenue in the future. And then the last one is a major chain that we sell the share in one associate under in during business. This transaction, the offshore service segment got cash almost 1 billion baht, but it's incur extraordinary loss, which is a non-cash loss, about 2 billion baht. Okay, so that's why if you see overall our financial statement is lost so much, this is a major item for that. For our performance, we will present in first half and then second half, so you can see the impact of COVID-19 and then how we recover to that. Okay, if we look at if we exclude the extraordinary item, okay, we will have normalized net profit in the second half at 211 million baht compared to normalized loss of 714 million baht. Okay, the loss in the first half is mainly from COVID-19 impact. How COVID-19 impact our business in the first half? First is the freight rate of the dry bulk. They decreased. I think as you can see, the BDI decreased in the first half of the 2020, but then it's rebound since June last year, and it's still going on up and up until this year. So you can see that for shipping business is already rebounded. And then for the offshore service, we have 2 key vessels that we send for mandatory dry docking. These vessels were quarantined before and after the dry docking. That's why we don't have revenue during that quarantine period. Okay, that's why it's make a loss of that. And because of the dry docking itself as well, that so there are no revenue during the dry docking period. Okay, that's why we have 740 million loss in the first half, but then we back on the positive side in the second half because the freight rates come up in the second half, and we don't require to be quarantined for the dry docking of subsea vessel. Though for offshore service, they have another vessel sent for dry docking in the fourth quarter last year. But as we know, that if we send it out of the country of operation, there will be quarantine. So we do the dry docking within the country of operation. So that vessel is not required for quarantine. So that's how we solve the problem about the quarantine. Okay. And then if we include the extraordinary loss of about 2 million baht, which is mainly from the sales of the associate that I mentioned before. So the net loss to TTA will be 1.9 billion baht. Okay. And this chart right here, we compare first half and then second half. For the first half, you can see that shipping increased 563 million baht to the first half. So shipping rebound a lot from the first quarter. Offshore service also improved 173 million baht more. Okay. And all of our business increased from the first half. I will go quickly because we have short time, so I can leave more time for Q&A. Okay. For the balance sheet, you can see that we have very low gearing, net interest bearing debt to equity very low at 0.08 times. Look at our shipping business. This chart represents our rate with the blue line, and then the net market rate with the gray line. You can see that for the past 2 years, our rate outperformed the market rate, especially during the COVID. During the second quarter last year, when the COVID-19, severely impact the whole world, right? Our rate outperformed the net market rate by 44%, and overall, as an average of the whole year, we outperformed 22% to the net market rate. And on the cost side, we maintain low OPEX, allow 3,700 to 3,800 US dollar per day per vessel, which is by average for 2020, we lowered 18% lower than the industry OPEX. Okay. And so as you can see that the shipping have excellent performance, even though they have a COVID-19, even though there's a disruption of COVID-19, in terms of TCE, they outperform the net market rate. And our shipping ranked number 3rd in the world in the term of TCE performance. Okay, this is what's rated by Danish Maritime Advisor Lingard and Losman in 2019. And on the cost side, we lower than the industry average. Okay, and at the average the rate in 2020 we got 9,517 US dollar per day. So for the financial performance of shipping, you can see that on the second half of the year of 2020, our net profit from shipping was 469 million baht, which is almost about the same level as the second half of the 2018 and 19. Same as, gross profit and EBITDA, they back about the same level at 2019 and 2018 for the second half. Okay. For the first half, it have some negative value here because as we adopt the TFRS number 9 financial instrument, we have to book the fair value of the derivative. So there may have some unrealized loss from derivative as well. For offshore service, okay, overall utilization rate is better from 2019, but because they have a dry docking of the 2 key vessels and these 2 vessels were quarantined, so the financial performance was lower. But in terms of utilization rate is higher because utilization rate we not count for the time during dry docking. Okay. And we already exit from the during business, as we mentioned that we sell all shares in associate in during business because as the oil price fluctuated, so this business will seem to have more risk. So we, at our management, decide to sell it. And this is really the best decision we have made as well, because after we sold it, this company, they filed Chapter 11 in February. But so we take their money out. Actually, it's our money as well. It's associate. Okay, so we take the money out from this company before they file the Chapter 11. Okay, so that's really a wise decision. And then for the financial performance, you see on the second half, although it's still loss, but we have lower loss and it's better than the second half of 2018 and about the same level of 2019. But the first half, the loss almost about double from the second half, as the reason I mentioned about the quarantine of the dry docking vessel. Okay, overall it have a net loss to TTA of 2 billion baht, mainly from the non-cash item from the selling shares in an associate in during, and then the performance itself, they have lost about 539 million baht to TTA. For agrochemical business, okay, this business continue give us profit, okay. The volume is increased, so same, so the performance is better for 2020. You can see that the net profit to TTA double to the 2019. This business is not affected much by the COVID-19 because this is a fertilizer business. Yes. Okay. So the agrochemical is not affected significantly by COVID-19 because fertilizer is an essential things for crop, for rice, and this is most human needs. Okay, and then that's why the net profit of this business is double from 2019. And then we have other segments like food and beverage and investment. So we have Pizza Hut restaurant, Taco Bell restaurant, but this will not, but the major revenue and EBITDA come from shipping. As you can see that shipping business is 135% of the total EBITDA in last year. But mainly in the past, in the 5 to 6 years, I think it's about more than 50% from shipping. So I pass to Jitender for market outlook.
I thank you, Kunpatra. For the market outlook, as has been our practice, we normally talk about two major businesses, dry bulk business and the offshore services business. The third major business, agrochemical, has been fairly stable and its the outlook remains the same. Therefore, we don't talk about it much. Coming at dry bulk business outlook, I think the message on these two slides, on one slide where we show the demand and on the other slide which we show the supply, is that all dry bulk indexes have been going higher during this period, quarter one, mainly due to the increased Chinese dry bulk imports. And we continue to see that as we talk. The freight rates have been reasonably higher, and that's a positive thing. The price which is being shown, we actually cannot predict how long these prices will sustain, whether they will stay for next 3 weeks or 3 months or even 3 years. So it's a very tough call to make, but that is what we see. However, for our averages purposes, we believe that anything above our cost levels of 7 to 7,500, anything above that always adds to the profitability of the company, and more the revenues are higher, the profitability will be stronger. So based on these two factors of demand and supply, we expect that year 2021 as well as year 2022, both should be very positive for this business, much more than we even budgeted for. And that's what is being reflected in the higher PDI. There has been just today and yesterday some easing of the DDI, but that is a normal correction which happens, and we expect it to be going up further. On the offshore service business outlook, next. As we have mentioned, that we have a order book of $190 million, which should be good for us in 21-22, almost half for 21 and 22. So roughly we can see that for the year 21, about more than $100 million will come from this order book, plus whatever orders we can get for our other vessels during the year, that will also get added. So it looks that we are out of the negative territory, which we have shown for last 2-3 years, and the outlook for service business also seems quite positive, mainly because of all the major providers, major governments, sovereign. They have big projects in the pipeline, and we expect to get our share of those contracts as and when they get announced. And that would be on top of these existing backlog contracts. I think that should be all. And you want to talk about the CG sustainable, or we can just go to the question?
Yeah. Okay.
We can go to the question answers. So if there are any questions, we can take that going forward.
Who has any question, you can send through the chat box or use raise hand function. We have around 15 minutes left.
We have one question which says, can you please explain how you are able to sustain rates that are consistently better than peers? Actually, we do better than the market, and when we are saying that shipping's TC is higher than the market, that is, one can say, is better than the peers, but the main thing is that we are better than the averages of the marketing. The one major thing is that our platform, or our people which are there with us, they are having very large experience, and that particular experience always makes them being proactive in placing our ships on the routes which are earning proactively on the routes, routes which are earning higher revenues during that period. You want to add to that? Yeah. And we have an additional chartering in business which gets on top of it, and we don't take very long-term positions. We take strategic spot positions so that we are always in positive on that. So when we couple the two, it always becomes out positive for the TC rate. The other question is on how do we keep costs lower than industry? Again, being in Thailand helps us. Most of our crew is Thai sourced, and we have arrangements with the local, what is that institute called? The local Marine College Academy, Marine Academy, from where we get our crew, and they are quite dedicated, keeping our maintenance costs much lower and keeping our operational costs also lower. The number of crew on our ships also we control that better than many other operators in this category.
I think it's like low cost culture within the organization.
Yes, I think probably we sum it up as a low cost culture within the organization because of our locational advantage in terms of the Thai crew and continuing with the same people for longer periods rather than having a turnover. Any other questions from any of the other members?
So if no question yet, I want to recap about our cost and the revenue a little bit, okay? As the OPEC cost here about 3,700 and 3,800 US dollar per day, and our cash cost is around 5,400, something like that. So if the TCE rate better than, like, let's say 6,000 US dollar, we got EBITDA as you got a positive EBITDA. Okay. As you can see, during COVID-19, the rate come down to market rate, net market rate come down to 5,210. But because we got our rate around 7,000, so we still make a positive EBITDA at that time. Okay. And the total cost, as Jitender mentioned, is roughly about like 700 to 800 US dollar per day. So as a rate, 7,000 to 8,000 dollar per day. So as a rate better than 8,000 US dollar, we make a positive net profit. Okay. If the rate increase during this period, you can see, so we have gained so much margin about that.
Okay, we have a question. You finished?
Yes, yes.
We have a question that which are the routes that your vessels are deployed in? I would like to say we are not operating any of the liner business, so we do not have any fixed routes. When I mentioned about the being proactive on our routes, it is you look at the market, how it is going to move depending upon the season. So when there is a Brazil soybean season, or when there is a US soybean season, or other things. So it is just being proactive, being closer to the trader where the volumes are going to be. You pick up those cargoes and you move along with it, and then the next cargo for that particular ship, being just proactive on each of the routes. But we do not have any fixed or predetermined routes like in case of a liner business. We do not have. The next question is, can you please give the color whether by the nature of the business, I don't know what does that mean, if the ship is delayed in shipment, for example, Suez Canal incident, are there any penalty costs TTA may have to bear? Yeah, this is a very, very good question because of the recent incident of the container ship which is stuck which has ran aground on the canal, on the Suez Canal. See, we normally in our business, there are two type of contracts, a voyage charter and time charter. If we are in a time charter ship or a time charter contract, then obviously this kind of delay is no impact to us. And if we are in a voyage charter, then this kind of delay would be an extra cost to us because we'll have to deliver the cargo, and the extra number of days would be detrimental to us. As we speak, we see only one of our ship may have an impact in the first week of April if this delay happens for longer period. If this thing gets sorted out by the end of this week, as the news are suggesting, then we may not see any impact. And luckily for us, not any other of our major ships at this moment are closer to Suez Canal, which would be impacted. So like out of our 24 ships, we are told that only one of our ships could be on a potential delay. And that depends how long this debacle continues, for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. One doesn't really know how long will this continue. But if it finishes by this weekend, then probably we will not see any impact to us. I hope I've answered that to your satisfaction.
You can raise your hand and then we can open the mic for you instead of typing. Yeah.
Close the mic.
If no further question, we will end the meeting. Okay.
The question here. How do you see this dry bulk cycle as being different from previous cycles? Actually, I mean, I don't know how far back we should be going in terms of the previous cycles. I mean, the very big cycle was in year 2002 to 2004, that kind of a cycle. That was completely different because it was driven by the huge demand from China. This particular cycle also, it doesn't look like that it will be staying there up for next 2 years or something like that. We expect it should definitely go on for another about 6 months. So that's where it is. I believe this majority of the freight which we are picking up is again a kind of a food security being developed by certain countries like China and other bigger countries. So therefore, this uptick right after the pandemic being there. And I can't see any other real similarities or differences. Just a uptick. It was expected because the supply has not been there for the ships for a long time, and the volumes have suddenly gone up. On the container side, we see that very big, but we are not in the container business, so I wouldn't be able to answer on the container side. But dry bulk has also seen the upswing as we all are seeing this upcycle.
Okay, I think G-tender mean 6 months does mean the high rate as current rate,
Right.
not the uptrend of the shipping cycle.
Yeah,
okay.
the uptrend will continue because the current rates which we are seeing on certain routes, we are even seeing $30,000 per ship per day. Of course, the averages would be not $30,000. Averages would be worth less. Yeah, thanks for clarifying
Okay,
that.
I think at least 2 years shipping still on uptrend, right? Because we see order book is the lowest in decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and okay, next.
Maybe you can take this question.
Okay, next question about Okay, for order book of offshore service, right? About 107 million US dollar will be delivered in 2021. Okay, and this year, okay, I forgot to tell you. This is really key for the offshore service. This year, we don't have any plan for dry docking this year. So it will be a good year for offshore service to recover. Okay. Because first they have a strong order book about 107 million US dollar for this year, and then they don't have dry docking schedule, and now they expand their scope to cable laying and like decommissioning project as well. So they expect to get more work in the extended scope. And actually, we already got cable laying project awarded already, and we expect more on that. Okay.
Bring you into profitability this year.
That have the few vessel were being deployed now.
The
Yes.
offshore segment will be profitable this year.
Yes. So I think this year offshore service segment will be able to break even about that, and then the dry docking vessel, right? Last year is now they operate at full capacity. Yeah.
I like to clarify that as Kumpatra mentioned that we would be break even and turn into profitability. So that would be a good achievement coming from losses of $26 million in the last couple of years, turning into the positive side, though the profitability may not be a very high number, but wiping off that huge losses is itself will be an achievement. However, in quarter one and quarter two, we may not still see that positivity on the moment side. It would start to show in quarter three and quarter four as the contracts get fully delivered and the profits are booked.
Just a question on strategy. I mean, you have a mixed bag of shipping, offshore, agrochemical, and food. Would there be a plan to eventually kind of spin off this in a separate kind of entity? Because, every one of them have different dynamics and cycle.
In short term, there are no such plans to spin them off in separate entities. But as you see, almost all the businesses over the last 7-8 years have been, or the diversification of business has been done with an aim to do away from the cyclical nature of the shipping business so that some stability can be brought into the reporting of profits quarter to quarter. And with that aim and with that strategy, the previous management and the current management have followed it on to just bring certain stability. And slowly we are seeing that as our other businesses which are slow to pick up, but as they pick up, we should see some smoothening of the curve, if I may say, on the volatility which is normally observed in the pure shipping business.
On that front, on your food business, Pizza Hut is quite a sizable player in Thailand. I mean, and the contribution to turnover is quite sizable, about 20%. What have you done since your takeover? And do you think that this could be, in the next 5 years, something more substantive, and especially on the profitability side? What are you doing to improve the profitability?
Number one, I would say when we took over the business from Yum, they still remain the owner of the franchise. We are just a franchisee, master franchisee from them for Thailand. And we operate all the Pizza Hut branches in Thailand. So when we took over from Yum was operating with losses. And we have been able to turn that around in the last 2 years. And with a substantial turnover, all the 21% is not from the Pizza Hut. It's a combination of all the other businesses within that others category. But yes, the revenue contribution of Pizza Hut is substantial, or our food business, which is Pizza Hut and Taco Bell together. And it is a profit positive business, and we expect that profitability should continue to grow. It's basically by rationalization or optimization of costs, and also going more deep into markets. We've been continuously expanding the branch network into more deeper areas and taking the product into Thailand, and we will continue to do that as we go along.
And how much of the pizza business is actually takeaway or delivery now on the overall? And for Taco Bell, what is your plan over the next few years, given that this is a segment that seems to be very promising?
For Pizza Hut particularly, the takeaway and delivery is I would say growing very fast, and as compared to dine-in, I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me, but it could be very close to about 3/4 a number are on takeaway and delivery businesses, specifically with these food aggregators like Grab and all coming in. That is a segment which is growing the fastest, and with that also we are changing our model or the size of our stores, and the focus being more on delivery. So that's it. Taco Bell is promising, but in Thailand, and specifically with the coming in of COVID, there has been a slow uptake, because Taco Bell still in Thailand, it's a food which will take its own time, because in a rice eating country, eating tacos will take its own time. So we have been actually slow on our ramp up plan on Taco Bell. So I see more growth on the Pizza Hut coming in rather than Taco Bell over the next 3 to 5 years. That is assuming that pandemic would resolve itself in the next 6 months to a year scenario. So I think we're finishing.
I think we have 3 minutes.
We have 2 to 3 minutes left. If
Yes.
there are any other questions, otherwise we'll be closing the session. But we are always available to answer your question. You can put up the detailed slide. We have a email information at the end of the presentation. You can ask us any of your questions through the email or through the phone numbers given. We always endeavor to answer as fast as we can to satisfy any questions which you may have.
So now no further questions. So we would like to thank you all investors that are joining us today. We see lots of familiar names here. Okay, that we nice to see you back again. Okay,
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome back, and as well as the new investor as well. So if you have further questions, you can email me patha@thoresen.com. Okay, thank you everybody. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, we would like to thank you investors and presenting company for joining us as well. We look forward to welcome you all again in the next quarter. Thank you very much.
Welcome. สวัสดีครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ